Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, prisons unconstitutional. Also, the V-Team asks, is the lottery bill dead? And Senators Marsh and Albritton move to kill the ethics laws. Welcome back to the Republican-sponsored orgy of greed and corruption. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, hello,
How are you?
Josh, Susan, this has been one of those weeks where you say to yourself, if it gets any worse, we're just going to have to put a for sale sign on the stake because we're going to have to sell it to some third world country who doesn't mind despotic, corrupt ruling.
Yeah, I don't know that it's not already for sale. It's been a rough week. It's been a rough week for ethics and morals and the whole 9 yards here.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts off, so we've had this clean lottery bill, and clean, by clean, I mean it has one subject in it, that's the lottery. Jim McClendon's bill, it allows for all types of lottery games, including video lottery terminals at the places where gaming is already legal. It has the scratch off, the growth components, and all that. And all of a sudden, Dale Marsh, Senator Dale Marsh, President Pro Tem, who is the head of the Senate, who was a co-sponsor on the bill, Josh, he all of a sudden comes forward and said, I don't like this bill anymore. And he and Greg Albritton from Atmore, Porch Creek Indian Greg Albritton, introduced a bill that strips out everything but paper lottery only.
Yeah, and it might as well have come with the PCI logo at the top of it,
Yeah.
because it really is their bill. That's what they want, and because it continues their monopoly, guarantees them that, and as a matter of fact, it will guarantee them to move forward and pretty much stamp out any competition that they would have, that they currently have, what little that they do have. We would get no revenue from it as a state, from their gaming operations. And then in addition to that, what we would get from the lottery would be cut by at least a third, if not more than by half, just because you're eliminating most of the components of the lottery that make money for states. If you look at what comes in from the lottery revenues there, very little is from the actual paper lottery. It's, the games surrounding the lottery that make a lot of the money for everybody, including the video lottery terminals that are tied to it. So it was obvious what they were doing. There was a handout to the Porch Creeks. I mean, it's all it was, and it at the expense of the people. I mean, what that revenue was going for, I'm going to remind everybody, was going to be for, potential scholarship programs and, tech schools and things of that nature that were going to help out this state's citizens.
And the Indian bill has none of that.
What the Indian bill does is complete opposite of that. What the Indian bill does is the first revenues that come from the paper lottery will go to repay the trust fund that they stole from for 3 years. Then after that, not a dime goes to education. It's split between the general fund and it's $250 million we owe the trust. 153 million we owe the trust fund before any of the other funds see it light of day. And then it goes half to the Alabama Trust Fund and half to the general fund. Who's going to vote for that?
Nobody,
they're not.
Because it's not a dime goes to education.
No, nobody's going to vote for that. Even if you got it even if you got it signed off to be a constitutional amendment, the voters of Alabama are not going to vote for that.
And I want to break one other thing down. They get up the Porch Creek operate bingo at 3 casinos that pay no taxes, are unregulated. We don't know that they're handling that money properly or not, and that they pay no taxes, unregulated, and they can do anything on that land. What McClendon's bill asked to do was to have lottery terminals at tracks, Green Track in Macon, or Greene County, Macon, Jefferson, and Mobile. Right. Now, the Indians own the track in Mobile. And that strip legalized gaming back in the 70s and 80s. Right. So here's the thing I discovered. Looking at the people that look over gaming issues, the lottery people statewide or nationwide, and they found that in 2016-17, basically from the 47 lotteries that were in the states, there was about $78 billion made from all 47 lotteries throughout the country. 8 states legalized video lottery terminals in that same period. Those 8 states took in a total of $7 billion additional dollars.
That was in
just
1 year.
off the tech equipment.
That was just in 1 year.
1 year.
In 1 year, 8 states made $7 billion.
Yeah, no, look, there's a lot of money into that particular portion of it, you know, in the electronic games there, which is the reason why they're fighting so hard for it, is because they realize that. And I want to quite something else here, is the idea that this is somehow unfair to the Porch Creeks. This is not unfair in any way, because what is guaranteed, if you understand the federal gaming law, when you pass this sort of a thing, they have the right to petition the government there to play the same games, to operate the same machinery. So what they would eventually do, even if it took them a year or more to do it, they would come in and play the same video lottery terminals, but they would do so at a reduced tax rate. It would probably be somewhere around 5% or so, where these tracks were willing to pay up nearly 25%. So you're still going to have a tremendous advantage, not to mention they still own another track.
Right. I want to bring up something. It's very important that the folks in Alabama understand this, because this is Trump state. In 1993, business mogul Donald Trump went to sue the federal government, saying that the Indians have an unfair advantage in gaming in New Jersey, where he had casinos. And he argued this. The Democrats said, no, 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 we're not helping you out, Mr. Trump. But he was right. Now, they have an unfair advantage against the private sector. One of the things that McClendon's bill was hoping to do was to level the playing field, not take anything away from the Indians. But Josh, the important thing, people don't understand, they own 16,000 additional acres in Alabama that they are now petitioning the federal government to bring into trust. Now, they operate 3 casinos on 400 acres and farms and all this other stuff, pay no taxes. We only got 30 seconds, but what could they do besides grow marijuana, which is legal for the Indians, on 16,000 acres of land in Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, they've kicked that idea around for a while. And because the federal government has told them that it's legal on reservations for them to do that, you know. And so, you know, why wouldn't they? I mean, you're talking about billions more dollars there. And listen, if that's fair for them, that's fair for them. Okay, I'm all right with that. But when you're talking about leveling out the playing field or making it more level, I'm also for that. And that's what McClendon's bill would have done.
And that's what McClendon's bill would have done. It would have made it fair for everyone. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. When we come back, you're going to see how the legislature is wanting to pass an ethics law. Yeah, you're going to get screwed.
What a great opportunity for your success. Adding 500,000 highly skilled employees to our workforce by 2025 is how we stay ahead in Alabama. Our economy is stronger than it's been in years, and a skilled workforce is more important than ever. Things move fast, so choose your path. Your success is waiting, plus a great future for Alabama. Success Plus. Go for it.
The Energy Institute of Alabama promotes reliable, affordable, and clean energy to help grow our economy, create high-paying jobs, and build public support for Alabama's energy industry. The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state, from convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
What are you doing today, babe?
I thought I'd head down to the lake with the guys, do a little fishing. Of course, none of us will be wearing our seatbelts. I'll lose control of the truck, wrap it around a tree, and kill us all.
Okay.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, this week, a bill was dropped in the Senate, which, when I read it, I was at first angry, second depressed, and sickened, because the Senate, some people in the Senate want to take the ethics bill that was written in 2010, a promise by the Republicans that they would stand by the toughest ethics laws in the state. They took that bill and gutted it like a feral hog on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. And in it, they did two very important things. All the statutes under which former Speaker of the House, Mike Hubbard, was convicted, they just blew them up so that no one else in the history of Alabama, as long as these laws stand, would ever be convicted again. Mike Hubbard could have never dreamt of doing such a hatchet job on the ethics law.
Well, you know, Bill, we've been saying if they're not going to follow the ethics law, why not throw it out? That's exactly what they've done. They've not only done that, they've rolled it back. It's more lax than before 2010. Even where they redefine bribery and make it a misdemeanor.
Right.
I mean, this is the most egregious stuff I've seen in a long time. I mean, lobbyists can give unlimited bribes, or I'm sorry, donations to officials as long as they report it. There has to be intent involved if you're going to even call it bribery. And if they're convicted, it's a $5,000 fine.
I mean, Josh, these are some huge points here. Yeah. But I mean, what it does right up front, the marquee thing that this bill does, as soon as you read it, is it says that all the statutes prohibiting someone from using their office for personal gain, they remove from the ethics code and place under criminal law. Explain why that's a great thing for those who want to break the law.
Right, because this is going to be the pitch. We're putting this under the criminal code. We're going to make sure that this is criminal prosecution takes place.
Have a misdemeanor.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, so you redefine it as misdemeanor, but also what you do there is you take it out of the hands of the people who have the resources and the ability to investigate it, first of all. That's the AG's office and their special prosecutions unit. They're not going to be involved anymore unless they take one of these cases from a DA, which is where all of these things are going to go. They're not going to go to the Ethics Commission anymore to be investigated. They're going to go to local DAs who are already overworked and have a lack of resources. As we all know, anyone who has spoken to any county DA has no more room to hold anything else on their plate. So that's the people that are going to be put under the thumb here of these folks here downtown. They're going to go to these DAs and they're going to pressure them like never before on all of this stuff. And so county DAs are some of the most pressured folks out there. Yeah. And they're susceptible to pressure because of where they are, where their funding comes from. Because remember, you know where the funding comes from for most of these folks. And so that's what we're looking at here. And so that once you remove, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. You remove the oversight of it. And then on the backside, even if by some chance some DA carves out enough time to personally investigate a few of these things, then you've still redefined the law to make it a misdemeanor for not only bribery, theft.
Right.
Stealing of $5,000 is now a misdemeanor if you're a state employee.
But not if you're a regular citizen.
No, not if you're a regular citizen, still a felony.
There you go.
What in the world? I don't even, this is the most egregious thing that I think I have ever seen come down. I can't believe somebody wrote the words out.
I know. I mean, I couldn't believe it, but I want to bring up another point. We were told for the last 2 years that the reason we needed this clarification is primarily so that we could understand who is a principal. In Mike Hubbard's case, he was convicted on 3 counts of taking a thing of value from a principal. So they said we have to define who actually is a principal. So, Susan, they did a number on who a principal is.
Well, I tell you, they did. You know, the interesting thing is when you read the bill and all of the summary and all of the code of where they're going to insert this in the code, you know, there's the principles all over that, all over it. Scroll down to where in the initial bill, the definition of a principal is, they didn't adjust 1 comma in that code. They no more redefined what a principal was than I don't know what. I mean, they didn't even insert a new comma in that paragraph.
But they did something more important.
Of course they did.
They said that anybody within a corporation could be named as the principal. So they could say that their secretary or the janitor is now the principal. And they did one other very important thing. If it's found that the principal did anything wrong or the corporation did anything wrong, they can't hold that individual. They can't hold them accountable. No. It's the corporation.
Hey, corporations are people, my friend.
You cannot send a corporation to jail.
No, you can't.
and here's why this is important. When they went after Mike Hubbard, Jimmy Rain, Will Brook, and Rob Burton were all deemed principals.
Right.
And that they could not give a thing of value to Mike Hubbard. And they did. He asked them for it, and they gave it to him. Well, they could pressure them to testify against him. You cannot now pressure the corporation to testify against
Well, and too, let's not forget, one of the very first items that they address in this bill is the ability to give a loan.
Right.
What did all of those 3 guys do but
give a loan?
Yeah, it's all legal now.
It's all legal.
Look, this is a gift to the business elite is what it is. And the political elite. That's all that this is. This is them saying, listen, we're playing up here, all right? And whatever drips down to you people, that's what you're going to have to live with. But we're going to play up here. And whatever we need to happen, like new roads and bridges and things like that, if we need to concoct a whole scheme behind the scenes here to get it done and pay everybody off and get everybody to come through and call it economic development, that's what the hell we're going to do.
I mean, I can give
and you voted for it.
Yeah, I can give you $1 million loan, and it's not against the law.
No, I got to tell you, I got to get in this.
We got 30 seconds.
If this bill passes, there is no reason for them to move forward with the economic development professional because there will be none because we're a pay-to-play state, and people are not going to want to bring their businesses here.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that big corporations in Alabama should be concerned about. Those that have legacy here is because anytime anybody looks at this state, they will know that you're going to have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get what you want done. And it will not be illegal. I'm telling you, if we were Honduras, they would think that we were doing something.
And you're going to have to pay it to idiots.
That's right.
To idiots who you'd never do business with otherwise.
That's
Absolutely.
right. We're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. The DOJ has found that Alabama prisons are places that are inhumane and unconstitutional. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Coming up next on the V.
Hey man, what are you doing today?
Playing the game. Thought I'd go out for a drive later maybe. Text some friends while I'm doing it. Scroll through social media. Kill a family 4 and a head on collision.
Cool, man.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
A lot can change in 5 years.
Except those smile lines you treated with Bellafill. Because that's about how long Bellafill will keep them smooth and filled. 5 years. Now you can always look your best without all those injections, appointments, and costs. Bellafill is the only dermal filler that stimulates and maintains collagen growth long term. Now time is on your side.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. This past week, the Department of Justice did something that I wish they would have done 30 years ago. They finally did it. We have documented some of this, but not all of it. In a 60-page report, they cited incident after incident in the Alabama prison system whereby inmates, male inmates, were repeatedly raped, were held hostage, were murdered and left in their beds, where the conditions violate the 8th Amendment of the Constitution for cruel and unusual punishment. And these are just some top-level things, Josh, that we found out this week. And the state has to come up with an answer quickly, or the Department of Justice is going to move in.
Yeah. Well, I don't think this was a surprise to anybody.
No.
And particularly in this state, I mean, we don't care about the poor people who are outside of the prisons, much less the poor people who are inside the prisons. So we've been doing this for a while. And I remember, I think it was two or 3 years ago, Senator Cam Ward, who's done a lot of this work on the prison stuff around here, saying, the DOJ is going to come in and investigate, and they're going to find awful, awful things, and we all know it, and apparently some people are okay with it. And that's essentially what happened. We've punted this thing for years and years and years, and everybody's heard the stories. If you've been around anybody talking about the inside conditions of a prison, you've all heard of these horror stories of people, you can say what you want, but a lot of these people who are in these things are not there for violent crimes. They're not there because they've done something that hurt somebody else. A lot of them are there for drug problems. I mean, we have a lot less of them now, thanks to some of the reforms from Cam and others that have come along. But, prison is supposed to be, at its heart, about rehabilitation of somebody. We're making people worse here. We're sending people in who are simple drug offenders, and we're turning them into violent criminals that we can never put back out on the street. I mean, they're stabbing people every day, left and right, to stay alive. And that's what we're doing. That's what we've done in our prisons here. And it's an appalling sort of a thing that we've treated other human beings this way.
I mean, Susan, when a person enters the penal system, they don't lose their humanity. They lose their freedom.
Yeah.
And you and I have been to 3 of these prisons. They're horrid. They're horrid. And one of the other things in the statistics, not only are we talking about stabbing, not only are we talking about rape, we're talking about 15 suicides in 15 months. I mean, that's how horrid it is there. And thank God the Justice Department finally came in and said, you guys are going to have to fix this. Now, we spoke with Senator Ward, and they are putting together a bipartisan commission to try to come up with the plan that the DOJ says we've got 49 days to come up with a plan to fix this.
You give them 49 years and they couldn't fix it. I mean, honest to God. No, there's no faith. Listen, I know some of the people on that thing. They've got great intentions, and they want to do well. But politics will be involved, money will be involved there, and they'll never get anything done. So they're going to be forced to do this. And we all know that. The same way they were forced with the mental health problems, right, that are currently still through the courts. And we can't fix those even after the judge orders us to fix them.
I know. And the thing is that one of the fixes is hiring 500 correctional officers, right? Well, Susan, at a base salary of like $27,000 or $30,000, you're asking a person to go into the worst place in Alabama.
Take your life in your own hands every day. I mean, who wants to do that?
No, you could triple it, and I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no chance, and that's the same way most people feel. They go in and they're there for a day or so, and they're like, oh, I'm out of that.
I mean, because it's not only the prisoners being stabbed; it's the correctional officers.
Yeah, right. Well, if you hadn't shanked somebody in the yard, you'd have no cred.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I'm sure you get double points for an alcohol.
And the contraband that comes in, and some of it comes through, legitimate means, and some of it not, and the type of debt We reported on this before, but you know, they blackmail these people, and they say, well, you get this and you get that, and your family's going to have to put this money on my commissary card or my green dot card. And if you don't, what happens, Josh?
Oh, yeah, you don't want to know. You don't want me to talk about it.
Don't want
and I mean,
stories.
Look, here's what that commission could do in 49 days. Just go up to them and say, take over our prisons, please.
Yeah.
Just come in and fix them.
The problem is we cannot afford what we've got. And if they take it over, it's going to cost twice what
it's going to pay.
And when we're talking about correctional officers, we're not talking about hiring 10 or 15. We're talking about we need 500. Yeah. There is no way to get 500 people.
To get up to the base level.
Base level. Exactly.
Right. And we forget about the fact that many the facilities for the elderly, elderly are horrible. Yeah. I mean, they were so bad when we were at one of the prisons, one of the maximum security prisons. They said, we can't even take you back there. It's so bad.
It was terrible.
And the prisoners with AIDS and the prisoners with tuberculosis.
Yeah, there was one prison we couldn't go to because there was an outbreak of tuberculosis.
Well, you know,
it's an ancient disease.
It is 1850.
Yeah. But again, Josh, I remember reading Joey Kennedy's columns 30 years ago that said corrections, education, and the General Trust Fund were all in trouble. Could he write those today?
Yeah, you write them every single year for the last 30. Yeah. I mean, they're always in trouble. It's always in trouble. It's always the same problems. And we can never find any revenue. Go figure.
Yeah. I don't know, like maybe a lottery?
Or you could fix the tax code.
Yeah, you don't want to tax any land barons, all right?
Exactly.
Timber barons do not like to be taxed. And the Porch Creek, 16,000 acres, once it's taken in the trust, not a dime.
Taxes, baby.
Ad valorem tax, not for me. But I tell you, the thing is that I've always said, we're the make me state. That should be our logo. It says, we are the make me state. Not that we dare to defend our right. We can say we dare to defend our stupidity, but we dare to defend our rights. No. Make me stay. Because now that the federal government has come in and threatened to shut us down.
Again.
We might do something, right, Susan?
Kick the can down the road again and wait for them to come in and take over.
I have zero faith that they can get anything done out of that.
Oh, God. It's been a pretty depressing week, hasn't it?
Things will get better.
Things could get better, and we're hoping they will. But, you know, again, the lottery bill had a best chance ever of passing.
Absolutely.
Dale Marsh, Greg Albritton messed that up.
Even though Marsh co-sponsored McClendon's bill, too.
Yeah. Okay, the ethics law that they promised not to screw around with, they did. Well, guess who sponsored that? Marsh and Greg Albritton.
You know, I'm beginning to kind of wonder about, last week I said something about Marsh and running for Senate. Yeah. I'm beginning to think there's some folks that got something on him.
Are these dumb and dumber, or is these Dr. Dredd and the Duke of Death? Yeah. I'm not sure. All right, we're gonna have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.